I lived in North Agawam. My first job was working at a farm picking strawberries. The biggest, fattest strawberries never got into the basket. The summer that I was 13, I worked in the store all summer long, full-time, more than full-time. I would work from when I got up in the morning to the time I went to bed at night, except for meals. I didn't have to feed myself. My grandmother was there. And it wasn't hard work. I'd sell cigarettes, and I never smoked a cigarette myself. I'd sell candy. I'd eat candy. I'd sell ice cream and soda. I'd eat ice cream and soda. Because my grandmother told me to help myself. Anything I wanted. And that's why I was overweight for so many years. I had started that summer at, I think it was $5 a week, my grandmother paying me. And but she thought she was very happy with my work. I remembered her as being very nice to me. There was a time when they sold sliced meats that were in a refrigerator, one of these with a big door built into the store. I could remember shelves full of Campbell's soups and things like that, well before the summer was closed. And particularly when she saw me helping my uncle that worked in the store and his two brothers helping to finish putting this expansion together, yeah. When she looked out the window and saw me up on the roof. And so she figured I was working like a man, and she advanced my pay to $13 a week. Well, I worked for a while for a hardware store in West Springfield. I was only in months because the store manager said, I'm going to have to let you go. He said, because they're doing examinations and you're supposed to be 14 the minimum. And I probably didn't work as long as a half a year. I got a job at our local florist. I worked for them during my senior year in high school, and then I quit to do a little business. I became a home florist. This was with my father's help. He helped me construct a flower bed at our home, 6 varieties of chrysanthemums, and I grew them for one customer, and that was my former employer, Keefe Florist, just that summer. Very shortly, I became 16, and 5 days after I got to 16, I was holding a driver's license because I called him on my birthday and made an appointment. At least 3 summers. It was a tobacco growing and cigar company. They made cigars. In making cigars, they used tobacco for the wrapper on the outside. In Fading Hills, there were massive shade-grown tobacco places. And yeah, if you drove down a street which had a field of field-grown tobacco, you can be looking, if you're in a bus, like the buses they used to take us to work, you're looking at a sea of white cloth. And there were posts all the way along, and there were acres and acres of it. He'd pick up some kids in Springfield, and I was the lone person standing at the corner just half a block up from our house for them to pick me up, and they'd come right by there and pick me up. And shade-grown tobacco is harvested totally differently than outside-grown tobacco. The top leaves were smaller than the bottom leaves. You'd start at the bottom and pick 3 or 4 leaves. They were big leaves. And then there'd be a second picking, a third picking, a fourth picking, and probably a fifth picking. It'd go directly into a barn, and if you drove through that area, you'd see all these tobacco barns. And I've seen them as far north as Westfield, Massachusetts, and as far south as central Connecticut. And it paid better than picking strawberries. These kids coming in from Springfield being picked up and coming back past my house when they were on their way back to the fields. But there was one guy that I guess hated me for no reason, except that he thought I was uppity. But I didn't necessarily tell everybody I was from college. If they asked them, I'd tell them. Anyway, for some reason or another, one day, I was walking by myself during the lunch break. I was walking up a path near some barns, and two guys were walking behind me, and they were two guys of the Springfield North End class. One of them was throwing rocks toward me. I could hear him landing, or I see him landing. I guess one of them hit my leg or something. I said, now I felt as though I was faced with doing something about it. I said, who did that? And he said, I did. And he started coming toward me. And we came together. I think he may be pretty capable with his fists, but I was reasonably capable with my arms. So I grabbed him and got him on the ground. I guess he'd had it. The other guy was talking to me after. I don't know that they were necessarily friends. He said, but he knew the guy from the North End. And he said, boy, I was surprised when you did that. He said, he's a very tough guy in the North End. And I know he hit a guy in the jaw once with his fist, and he broke his jaw. I was probably 15. She only lived 2 towns away, but we were both working for that summer for the same tobacco company, and I didn't meet her there. At the end of the year, they take all their workers and treat them to a day at Riverside Park. We didn't work together. We worked for the same organization, and we didn't meet until that Riverside Park. We did it while we were on one of their rides. I think it was called the Tunnel of Love. Wow. In high school, my strength was science and math. While I was number 10th in the class, at the end of my senior year, Bosch and Lohm gave an award and a plaque or something like that. Somewhere I've got it. I don't know where it is because I won it. There was also an award in math, in science and in math, and I won both of them in high school. When I applied to college, I was very skeptical as to whether I could get into MIT. So it was a 5-year program, and you are given both at the end of the 5 years, you were given the bachelor's degree and the master's degree. Right after I was accepted there, and I was talking seriously about it, and I said I was making plans, and my mother, one time she was in the kitchen, and I was in the kitchen, just the two of us. Mother said, oh, Gerald, I don't know how we're going to afford this. Put a stroke of pain in me. I really felt bad. I felt guilty. It was crazy. I had an idea how I could afford it, but I didn't tell her. My idea was I've got some money saved, and it's enough to pay for 1 semester, not even a full year at MIT. And I know my parents can't afford it. How can I continue after 1 semester? I'd just leave MIT, I'd get a job, and I'd go back to MIT. And I never had to leave MIT and come back 2 years later or something like that. I did a lot of things. And decisions I made, I think it was $300 or $350 per semester for the tuition. Of course, you have to pay for housing, you have to pay for food. But my father agreed to give me $11 a week I could buy my food.